What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are going to be talking about my UNS 40C, which is right now a complete and total disaster. I'm really unhappy with it. I've got a lot of issues with the tank, which I'll kind of go over, and then we're gonna go through and completely nuke this tank, take everything out, give it a rescape, freshen it up. So yeah, that'll be kind of what's going on in this video. All right, so there are two main issues with this aquarium I've been having. There's one that's just kind of a minor annoyance. I'll go over that one first. And that is mixing aqua soil and sand, I think was a huge mistake. I think if you're gonna do sand and soil, if you do aqua soil on the bottom and then cap it with sand, it's totally fine. But if you try to make partitions like I did between kind of this island and the sand, you just end up with, look, aqua soil all over the sand. And in the beginning, I was like, all right, no big deal. I'll just go through and, siphon it out or remove as much as I can. But it's a huge pain in the butt, so I'm tired of doing that. So I would not recommend it for you guys if you're thinking about making like, a sand path and aqua soil or some other partition like this. It's a ton of work and you're constantly in a losing battle. So I don't recommend that. So when we take the tank apart, we are not gonna do that. The next problem I have with this tank is, of course, you guys probably saw it earlier, blackbeard algae. This stuff is so bad. It is by far the worst algae I have ever dealt with in fresh or saltwater in 20 years of fish keeping. I kid you not. It is that bad. It seems like once you get it, you cannot get rid of it. It's very, very difficult to get rid of. I've tried a bunch of stuff to get rid of it. In fact, I made a video about it. I'll link it in the description. And for the small amount I had at the time, it seemed to work, like hydrogen peroxide, Flourish Excel, blackout. But eventually it just kept growing and growing and growing. No matter how many times I treated it, more would pop up elsewhere. I even tried, I didn't make a video about this, but I took the tank apart completely, threw away everything I could find that had blackbeard algae on it, put it back together with just some of the original plants, and eventually it came back again. So yeah, really unfortunate. I do have another thing I'm gonna try, or I guess a combination of things to get rid of this blackbeard algae, because so far what I have been doing has not been working. And I know I could just take everything apart, dry everything out, kill my beneficial bacteria in my filter, and that would probably fix the issue. But I don't want to do that. I want to find something that we can do without having to completely break down the tank and maybe find a treatment that works. So I'm actually going to be exploring how floaters work, and what I'm going to do, this is kind of my strategy, is to take out almost all of the plants except for the Anubias on the driftwood. The reason I'm not taking out that and that is because actually that piece I can remove completely from the water, spray it with hydrogen peroxide, and that seems to have been working. I think just because if you can take it out of the tank and let it soak in hydrogen peroxide, the treatment works a lot better. Like you'll see there's almost no blackbeard algae on this driftwood. So that does work. If you guys can take the thing out that has blackbeard algae in your tank, give it a spray with hydrogen peroxide, that will probably work. But obviously you can't do everything. Like some stuff is difficult to take out. Like if I were to remove these stones, I would kick up a whole bunch of substrate, it would mix in with my sand, yada, yada, yada. So my strategy coming back is to take out all the plants except for driftwood anubias and let these floaters completely cover the water's surface. I've heard anecdotally that floaters will help prevent blackbeard algae, something like that. I don't know if I buy into it. If you guys have experience doing this, if you know if it works, doesn't work, definitely drop a comment below. So yeah, I'm just kind of curious. We're gonna try it out and see how it works. Okay, I also have these mangroves growing back here. These are probably gonna come out. I was initially trying to grow these out for a saltwater system. I've heard they do better, at least initially, in freshwater. So I have them in here. They haven't really been growing much. They've been in here a few weeks and haven't done much. But I'm probably going to take those out, put them somewhere else. Because yeah, I don't think it really matches the scape I'm gonna go for. So the first thing we gotta do is we got to, I guess, remove this piece of driftwood. And I'll give it another spray with H2O2. And then we've got to go through and remove most of the plants. And I'm not actually sure if we're going to have to pull the fish and the shrimp to replace the substrate. I think the shrimp we probably will have to, but I think the fish will be okay in there. So yeah, let's first get out this piece of driftwood and put it in a bucket very carefully. This thing took forever to finally sink. It took like a few weeks. Oh, that's not gonna work. My floater ring is getting in the way here. Oops. Okay. All right, so just like that, we got it out. So let's just leave that in the bucket for now, and then get back to removing all these plants. I think these plants are all heavily contaminated with blackbeard. So I'm just gonna try and completely remove all of them. I actually have backups of a lot of these plants in my other 2 freshwater tanks. So yeah, if I can keep the blackbeard algae out, I will restock them with new plants. So yeah, you can see they all floated to the top. Obviously, I'm going to keep the floaters, but I'm going to pull out everything else and toss it because, yeah, it's just heavily covered in BDA. So just in case I do need to take out any of the shrimp or fish, I'm going to fill up this bowl with a little bit of tank water. The point being, so if I, find that it's just too hard to get all that substrate out with the fish in or the shrimp, I'll just chuck them in here and they'll be good for a while. And I think I can probably put this ring of floaters in there as well. That'll give something, if I do take the shrimp out, to cling on to feel a bit more comfortable. And I'm also gonna grab a towel because there's a bunch of water on the floor. Yeah, if you guys have tanks, you know that you try to keep water off the floor, but sometimes you end up with a little bit. So it's handy to have some towels nearby. And I'm just gonna leave that over here and leave this just here to catch any drips that might come off. All right, so let's see if we can remove those rocks that are just absolutely covered without disturbing too much, which might not be possible. But let's give it a try and just gently remove them. Okay, I think I got basically everything. There are a few pieces of foam still in there from where I tried to kind of block the sand from getting into the substrate. Obviously that didn't work. But yeah, that'll be easy to take out. So I'm just gonna let the tank sit for a few minutes to let the filter catch up and remove a lot of this junk and debris in the water column. And then we'll come back and try to, if we can, siphon out most or all of the substrate and then put in a fresh layer of just sand. So I was thinking about it more, and I think I have to take as many shrimp out as possible, because I'm gonna go through with a siphon and remove as much of this as I can. And I don't think that these guys are going to move out of the way for me. Oops. There's shrimp in there. And I am watching to make sure that I don't suck up any shrimp, because I know I didn't get the Amano shrimp, but they're big and easy to see. I do see one more Neocaridina. I just kind of got my eye on him as I siphon. All right, that's one bucket down. I didn't get all the substrate. I'd say I got like 75%. But look at the water change buckets. So I think this stuff is actually gonna be great for my outdoor plants. It's probably packed with nutrients. So I'm gonna water it around my front and backyard. Something else I found works really well for cleaning aquarium glass is a magic eraser. I know it's safe for glass tanks like this. I'm really not sure about acrylic. So someone, if you know if you can use this stuff on acrylic, drop a comment below. I'm gonna use this to just kind of touch up the bottom. And you can see how quickly it gets rid of the algae. Super fast, like faster than the scraper, definitely. Okay, let's turn on the pump. Oops. There we go. Cool. And I'm using RO water, so I'm going to remineralize it with this stuff, GHKH powdered solution. And I just kind of eyeball it initially, like a little bit on the lower end. And then I measure the TDS and add more as needed. So I try and keep it around like 120-ish. I found works pretty well for plants and shrimp. All right, the last little bit I'm not gonna use, well, the last half, I guess. I'm not gonna use the pump anymore. I'm just gonna pour it in. Much, much faster. Okay, so first actually I am going to clean my filter intake and outtake. because it's also, like many things in this tank, covered in blackbeard. So let's take that out, give it a good scrub before we put it back in. So we have the tank basically filled back up almost all the way to the top. We have the filter running. And now I'm going to try to delicately add this sand here that I rinsed a bunch of times with a hose in the bucket. So hopefully it doesn't cloud up the water too much, but I don't know. I've never done this before, so we'll find out. All right, so here it is. We're gonna put it back in. Let's see if I can get a better angle here, so you guys can see how it looks from the front of the tank. So I'm hoping it still sinks. I think it will. And that it just kind of rests there naturally. That worked out pretty well. Okay, we got that in, and now as is, it looks very bare. So I'm gonna go grab some bigger river stones. All right, now for the fun part, which is playing with rocks. So I know some people like MD fish tanks. By the way, if you guys haven't seen his channel, definitely go check it out. He has kind of this like haphazard way of arranging rocks and just kind of dumping gravel, stones in, and letting nature do its thing, or I guess kind of just the randomness of placement to make it look natural. Oh, excuse me. But I actually find that I get a better result if I'm very particular about where I place the rocks. So I tend to spend a lot of time like placing, moving things around, and just seeing what looks good. I need a darker, different colored rock for over there. Maybe like this one will look nice. Like that. I think that looks pretty good. Oops. And we'll kind of alternate. Okay, I'm kind of liking that so far. So I think now it's missing kind of, again, this is what MD calls scatter gravel and stones and whatnot. So let's just place a few of these around kind of randomly. But with purpose. I, again, don't get a great result when I try and just dump things in randomly. Like for example, I find these two stones are like same color, a little bit too close together. So I go grab something just different shape, texture, and put it over there. I try and make sure that the spacing is not super uniform between stones. I guess what I'm describing is randomness. Yeah. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let's maybe a few more fronts here. I'm just gonna go here. Let's see how that looks. I think that looks pretty good. I think what I'm missing now are some really small stones. So I'm gonna go in my backyard and see if I can find a few super small pebbles to use in here. So I'll be right back. I collected some more stones from outside in my yard. I just kind of have these lying around. So yeah, I'm going to sprinkle a bit of this around to again just add a variety of sizes, shapes, textures, and colors. See, like this piece I just let drop here does not look good there, so I like to move it. Pretty good for now. I'll give you guys a closer look. So the water is still pretty cloudy. So I'm gonna finish filling it up and then let the water clear, and we'll take a look when everything's kind of cleared up. It is the next day and the water is looking crystal clear, which I love to see. And I think the tank is looking a lot better than it did in its previous state. So the two big things we did, or changes we made rather, is that we removed the aqua soil. These plants currently in here are either floaters or epiphytes. So they don't really need substrate for the roots to go into. The other big change we made, or fix rather, was we removed as much blackbeard algae as possible. I still think there's gotta be some left over in here, so I'm really curious to see if it reemerges or not, and if the floaters will help. The good thing about this aquascape is that it's very easy to maintain if I do find blackbeard algae. Every single thing in this tank can be removed, sprayed with hydrogen peroxide, and put back in. So in its current state, even if blackbeard reappears, I think it will be easier to treat. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you guys in the next video.